let me love you.
Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be doing episode 3 of For the Nostalgia. Today we'll be talking about the 2025 Japanese drama Hana Yori Dango. Makino Tsukushi is the only poor student at Eitoku Gakuen, a school for ridiculously wealthy and privileged. Eitoku Gakuen is ruled by the Flower Four, or otherwise known as F4, a group of four boys who come from extremely powerful families. Domyoji Tsukasa, the leader and heir of the Domyoji World Finance Group. Hanazawa Rui, the introverted son of a large company. Nishikado Sojiro, a player who is the heir of a tea ceremony school. And Mimasaka Akira, a madam killer with ties to the underground. If a student gets on the F4's bad side, she gets a red notice and is bullied and driven out of school. Makino hopes to pass her days quietly without drawing any attention to herself. But one day she stands up to Domyoji in defense of her friend. The next day, Makino receives the dreaded red notice. Even though she is harassed, Makino decides to keep going to school and declare war right back on the F4 because she's a tough weed. Her resolve gets the attention of her crush, Hanazawa Rui, and oddly enough, rouses romantic feelings in her worst enemy, Domyoji Tsukasa. Going into the characters, you have Makino Tsukushi. She's a superior written female protagonist, even though she's based on the original source material being the anime/manga. I love Makino as a character because she was relatable. She strived to be a lawyer as a career path, and she even acted like an actual real person, as she would mumble to herself if she felt like she made a wrong decision or if something is troubling her. Also, she wasn't a selfish person nor a terrible person. Even though there were times that she would be stubborn and make decisions that I personally didn't agree with, however, she portrayed what true friendship was, even when people were not kind to her and forgiving without being a pushover. Next is Domyoji Tsukasa. He is my second favorite portrayal of the male protagonist. I didn't hate his character, and actually I felt bad for him at times without excusing his terrible behavior. He is also a well written character with many nuances and character development. I think the author did well with showcasing how his childhood affected how he became as he grew up. Next is Rui Hanazawa. He was another favorite character of mine and well written as well. I love his aloof personality that strongly contrasts from Domyoji's loud and aggressive personality. One would even question how they became friends outside of their wealth. Even though Makino did have a one-sided crush on Rui, he didn't reciprocate those feelings. He always was a good friend with her and Domyoji. And last but not least is Akira Miyasaka and Sojiro Nishikado. They were not really shown much in the overall series besides Sojiro taking somewhat interest in Makino's friend Yuki. However, they did give Domyoji good advice when he did something wrong, even though they were all complicit in his terrible behavior. Nevertheless, they always had his back and they even protected Makino no matter what. Next, going into the plot and storyline, I want to make a point to say that no matter when you watch this show back then or recently, this is not a show that was written to romanticize or glamorize abuse. They did not intend for you to be like, yeah, I want a man like Domyoji, and Makino is so lucky. Never once in this show did I ever think that Makino was lucky to be with Domyoji, and actually, I think that I would have been happy with whoever she ended up with, Rui, Domyoji, or even nobody. You can tell by the way that the show is produced, since unlike the Korean adaptation, there's nothing pretty, like there's no pretty filters, or the character and the color palette was saturated. It's almost as if they were just like, let's start filming. It doesn't give soap opera vibes, and you know what you're getting yourself into when you see the promotional poster. Unlike in the Korean adaptation, where it's all pretty looking with pink, and the show itself is rather overly toxic than the original source material portrayed it to be. Going into the themes, I love the themes in this show and that there's something to take away. One of my favorite was the one with Sakurako. Even though she used Makino in the beginning to get Domyoji's attention for herself and it backfired, I'm glad that in the end she realized how good of a friend Makino was, as she stood up for her when she was getting bullied for getting plastic surgery. despite the fact that most of the girls who bullied her also got plastic surgery themselves. I even like how they showcase how women can become together and befriend each other without being catty, even though Sakurako was the one who was being catty. Also, that money doesn't buy you happiness. I even love the fact that Sakurako was even invited to Makino and Domyoji's wedding along with Shigeru, Domyoji's former fiance. Next is Domyoji and Makino's relationship. While I do not romanticize their relationship, I actually like their relationship and I think they were a realistic portrayal of a relationship. Domyoji is someone who had trauma and he was able to overcome it once he seen the type of family that Makino had. Even though they were poor, they never complained and they were content and they tried their best for Makino no matter what. Domyoji's character had many layers to him since it was understandable how his childhood affected his adulthood and why he was bullying students. He was mostly sheltered since his mom was going out on business trips most of the time, so she wasn't able to give him that attention that he needed. Also, his sister was married and she couldn't visit him often, which made him alone most of the time. His relationship with Makino made him mature and understand things better, since her world was so much different than his, and he finally had something worth fighting for. And last but not least is Rui and Makino's relationship. I love their relationship because even though Makino had a one sided crush on him, they both didn't do anything to hurt Domyoji. In the second season, Rui did kiss Makino, however, he knew that she was in love with the latter. Also, he kissed her when her and Domyoji were separated and not together. He respected both Makino and Domyoji's relationship. Their relationship was a testament that men and women can be friends. As I said, Rui respected Domyoji by not pursuing Makino when they were together or in his presence. Also, I like how he officiated their wedding once they got married as well. In conclusions, I do think that this show aged well in the sense that this show was never intended to be romanticized since it had many messages throughout the show, and for the most part there was nuances and everyone experienced some type of character development and growth. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please do subscribe and please hit that bell notification for more uploads from me.